Meanwhile, on the comic box, it's Morphin Time, yo. Let's kick it. Ba-da-ba-ba-doo-down, ba-da-ba-ba-doo-down, a-da-da-down, ba-doo-ba-da-ba-ba-doo-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-bow. Hello,
Go,
everyone.
Power Rangers.
There you go.
Sorry for interrupting.
Nope, that's perfectly fine. Hi, everybody, and welcome to issue 43 of the Comic Box, part of the Geek to Geek podcast network. I am Rob, your friendly neighborhood comic geek, and I am joined for the second time by some guy named Matt. Hi, Matt.
And hello. You may remember me from your favorite podcast featuring Deadpool.
Was it Deadpool or was it Suicide Squad?
It was Deadpool.
Are you sure?
Was it Suicide Squad?
I felt like we did Suicide Squad, and you said you wanted to.
It was Suicide Squad.
You wanted to do Deadpool.
Well, that's how good that podcast was.
Yeah. So we're talking about Power Rangers this week, but first, the weekly geekery. Matt, what have you been up to this week? How have you been keeping it geek?
Well, for starters, I started playing Pokemon Go again. A little bit because my daughter, who's 6 years old, is obsessed with Pokemon. She absolutely loves anything Pokemon. She has a Pokemon encyclopedia that she goes to bed with every night. She reads for an hour as she falls asleep. She's collecting Pokemon cards, and she absolutely loves posing my wife and myself against each other in Pokemon Go. Well, Mom has this, do you? Well, so what if you have that? But do you have this? So she has a lot of fun, and been playing quite a bit here out in Denver this week. And outside of that, on the last podcast, I had mentioned that I used to play EverQuest. I started playing that again, I don't know, quite a while ago, shortly after the last podcast. And there's a new thing coming out soon that's called Agnar, or the Agnar server, on EQ Live. That's going to be a progression server. So it starts off at the beginning, and then every 3 months goes through a new expansion release. And this is due, the reason they're doing this is because it is now 18 years since the game initially released. So they are doing it as a, hey, thanks for playing with us. We're now an adult. We're going to show you we like you by creating a new server where you can start over.
Okay, because I was going to say 18 sounds like a really, really arbitrary anniversary. Like they can say, oh, it's because we're an adult now. I feel like they just... Are they hurting for users?
Well, so Sony sold to somebody who sold to Daybreak. So it's Daybreak Games, and whether they're hurting for users or not, it's going to be a paid subscription. So I'm sure just releasing the server is going to net them $1 to $2 million in the bank. So, and that's assuming about 5,000 people play for a year to two.
Well, so how long would it take? Like, how many expansions are there for them to get if they're only pumping them out every 3 months?
The full progression will last 2 years, but then they'll lock it at that. So you can still play longer than that, but some people may get bored when there's no more neat stuff to come out.
Now, are they completely done doing any expansions for the game at this point?
For live, I believe so, but they're up to 25 expansions for that. And
wow.
The reason why these progression servers, so this isn't the first time they've done a progression server, but the reason they do that is a lot of old school players stopped playing when some of these newer expansions came out, and it made it much more like World of Warcraft and not like the hardcore EQ like it once was.
Okay, so is it going to look this like when it starts? Are you playing with like the really awful graphics again?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, all right. And so how is this affecting, because now I remember back in high school when you were addicted to this game, how much time you were putting into it. Are you expecting that kind of time again, or like, because you have a family now and a job, and so how are you going to manage to be trying to keep up with something even if it's only updating every 3 months?
Yeah, so I've been playing a locked server that's free to play called Project 1999 that locked after the 3rd expansion.
Okay, I was going to ask what locked meant. It just means it only comes up so far and you don't get any more.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been playing that for a while, and typically when I get home, it's family time. Kids go to bed, wife and I sit in front of the TV, spend a little bit of time with just the wife, and then I just log into the game while we watch TV together. It's not been too much of an issue up till this point.
Okay. And then I suppose I should ask, since we're talking about Power Rangers this week, and it's partly due to I had a request on Twitter from Armando, a friend of the show, who asked if I was going to review the comic, and then immediately afterwards you said you went and saw the movie. So what pushed you to go and see Power Rangers this week? Like, were you genuinely interested to see Power Rangers, or was it somebody else's suggestion?
Well, so a while back, I don't remember what movie it was, but the preview for Power Rangers came on, and I'm like, that looks awesome. I used to love Power Rangers as a kid, and everything seemed a bit darker. Not like dark like the Dark Knight Rises type dark, but it seemed a bit more realistic. It wasn't completely, 1990s. Here's your lesson of the day, kids.
But yeah, the more realistic giant monsters fighting robots that combine into robots.
So my wife and I took a date, and we went and watched the movie, and we both loved it. Well, okay. Spoiler alert, we loved the movie. And that's why when I told Rob that I had seen it, I said, Rob, I love this movie. You're going to hate it, but we should totally review it on your podcast. Because historically, and to the listeners that may not remember the Suicide Squad, you and I have completely opposite likes in movies. If I like something, you typically hate it. And if you hate it, I typically love it.
Yeah, I am finding it hard to believe that your wife didn't want to go see, like, Beauty and the Beast instead of Power Rangers.
It was her suggestion to go see Power Rangers.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She was a big fan of Power Rangers back in the day.
All right. I am slightly taken aback by that. That is very cool. Anything else for your weekly geekery?
No, that's about it.
All right. Well, for myself, I obviously read the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Volume 1. I suppose the big thing was it was my birthday on Tuesday.
Happy birthday.
4th. Thank you. And then that evening, I also had sort of a date night with the wife. We stayed in, but watched a movie. And we watched Pacific Rim because I was working my way through Guillermo del Toro movies because there is an exhibit at I'm going to probably say this wrong, I believe it's Minnesota, not Minneapolis, Institute of Arts.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but it's not the right grammar. Institute of the Arts, but MIA, I think. Anyway, Art Institute here in the Twin Cities have an exhibit that has a bunch of stuff that Del Toro took from his, I guess it's not his home. He has what he calls sort of a man cave, but he calls it Bleak House. And it's just full of weird and creepy things. And everything he has in there that you would look and see is supposed to shock you a little bit or creep you out or put you in that mood so that he can work on his horror projects. He has a room that has a real life-size Edgar Allan Poe, and it's what he calls a rain room, where there's rain streaming down the windows and it sounds like thunder and the whole place rumbles. And so he's in a constant thunderstorm if that's the mood he wants to be in while he works.
It's good to be rich.
It's good. It is so good to be rich. I love this guy's man cave because it's a house. It's literally a second house just full of creepy stuff. It's really cool. So I'll throw up some pictures for stuff. And then as far as video games, I've been playing Overwatch again. There's a new character they released in Overwatch. I've tried out the new character. I don't think I'm great at it, but I'm not great at the game anyway. I mean, I've had it for I don't know how long, and I'm a level, 30-something. But I like playing with people, so if anybody out there is an Overwatch player. And that is it for our weekly geekery. So I suppose it is time to launch into our topic of the week. But first, this.
I'm Void.
And I'm Beej.
And together, we're the Geek to Geek podcast. Well, we make it. It is kind of us, but I guess it's separate.
Every week, we pick a topic from geek or digital culture and chat about it for a while.
And you're invited. We talk about books and movies, games, comics, the internet.
Or really whatever we feel like.
Yeah, that too.
So look for the Geek to Geek podcast on iTunes.
Or wherever your podcasts are sold. Or downloaded. Or whatever.
And we are back. Woo! Hey.
It's good to be back.
Hey, some guy.
Some guy named Matt?
Hey, did you know that this show is part of the Geek to Geek podcast network?
I had heard that before, but I wondered where I could find out more about it.
Thank you. You can find out about all of these shows at geektogeekcast.net, where you can sign up for email updates about every single one of our shows, or you can come and get more in-depth in conversations and tell us how wrong we are about everything, mostly Matt, by going to our subreddit, reddit.com/r/geek2geekcast. And I think, have you been on our subreddit?
I'm on it right now, Rob.
Well, there you go. Topic of the week. Actually, first, let me get this out of the way. So I read Volume 1 of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers graphic novel, which is based on the show, not the movie, and I was whelmed by it. I don't know how underwhelmed I was, but I was certainly whelmed. It was fine. You kind of needed to have seen the show first. It starts with the Green Ranger already having just joined the team. So I don't know if maybe there was a prequel comic that explained that, because I assume some things are going to be different in the comic versus the show. It was slightly more updated, where like Bulk and Skull now host a podcast about Power Rangers, and they didn't seem like they were bullies at all in the comic. So that was weird. But beyond that, it felt like the TV show. So I guess if you loved the TV show, the comic, I'm sure, is going to be fine and a great piece of nostalgia for you. Just as I wasn't a huge fan of the show, I'm not going to read Volume 2. I can say that. It was fine. Like, it talked about the Green Ranger having hallucinations of Rita Repulsa because he still sort of hadn't completely shaken himself off from her control, and so he was keeping it a secret from the rest of the team, but then he was having trouble controlling his giant robot. You know, it was all well and good. Like, I guess it was sort of an interesting plot and stuff. The dude plays a knife like a flute. Like, I'm sorry. And I know suspension of disbelief is necessary for all comic books and stories.
Well, it's a flute knife.
But the mouth on the front of your mask doesn't move either. Like, I literally don't understand.
It's a flute knife, Rob.
It's a flute knife. That's all you need to know. It's a flute knife. So that was the comic. Thank you to Armando on Twitter for the suggestion. And I mean that. I truly mean that. Always feel free, anybody out there, to send in suggestions, and if I can get my hands on it. This time I managed to find it through the Hoopla app, which lets me read comics from my local library's e-book collection. And so I was happy to go and do it. I'm always happy to try something new. We can't expect me to love everything, but please continue sending in those suggestions. But that was pretty much it for the comic. So
it's Morphin Time.
It's Morphin Time. Let's talk about the movie. I guess we start with overall general thoughts first, and then I guess dig into some details. Does that work for you?
So no spoilers to begin with.
No spoilers to begin with. What did you think of the movie? You said you loved it.
So I did not go into the movie with the expectation of doing a podcast after. I went into a movie expecting to watch a movie and hoping to have some fun. And it met those goals. It passed the Christopher Lyons good movie test. I did not look at my watch. Even though I knew it was a 2-hour movie, it seemed to fly by for me.
This was our high school, by the way, because you can't say that without explaining it.
I figured you'd jump in.
Okay. So high school teacher of ours who taught AP, what was it, AP Government?
English.
Or English?
I don't know.
But he had a film class as an elective that you were able to take.
No.
What?
I started the after-school film club that you then joined as well, and that's where he started talking about it. It wasn't a film class.
Okay. Well, I took a film class with him.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
I made a video about the Mall of America. That's kind of one of the places where I was getting more heavy into video editing and started editing like other students' projects and stuff.
Maybe I did take that class with you because I remember going into the basement of the Mall of America before I worked there. So we didn't have a pass. We were just walking around the tunnels underneath the mall. Pre 9/11, mind you, because the security's a bit tougher there now.
Yeah, a bit tighter. But yes, so in that class, that was when I first started learning how to analyze film. And then my senior year, I did the PSEO thing where you get to take college courses if you want while you're still in high school.
You're boring the listeners.
I'm boring you, and I'm okay with that. No, his test is if you look at your watch once during a movie, it's okay. If you look at your watch twice during a movie, it's not a good movie. Am I on the ball there?
Yeah, roughly. 2 or more, it's bad, and the more times you look at it, the progressively worse it is.
Yeah. So you said you watched the whole film without looking at your watch.
Correct.
Okay. I guess maybe that's true for me too. Now my phone kept buzzing because there was a Twitter conversation between Void and Beej and Joe from the Geektitude podcast. So I suppose I didn't look at the time while I was watching the movie.
You did not pull your phone out specifically to look at the time to say how much more is left of this god-awful movie.
That is correct, but I knew that I was soldiering through to the end anyway, and I guess I knew, the movie's not over yet because I haven't seen the Zords, the movie's not over yet because I haven't seen the big thing, and that's not a spoiler, that's all in the trailers. As for myself, I was underwhelmed by the movie. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I had heard people saying it seemed like it was for a more adult audience and it was much darker, but it still felt cheesy enough that it could be for kids. Like, they talk about killing and murder and stuff, but there's no outward violence that way. There's no blood in this movie that I recall. Or no, I take that back. There's one moment where somebody falls hard and spits blood, but it's not during combat. It's when they're first learning to use their powers. That's a minor spoiler, I guess.
My take to counter that is it is for adults. It's for the adults that grew up with the TV show. Something nostalgic that places it in today's time, where it still has the callbacks to several of the super iconic areas of the TV show, with still being a movie of today.
Okay, but it still wasn't a good movie. This is by my call. All right, can we get into spoilers now?
Spoiler alert!
How do you want to play this? Do you want to, go through the movie? Do we need to take that much time, or do you just want to start airing grievances? Or I guess saying the things you really liked.
Well, I'll say the things I really liked. And
I get to counter?
Sure, we can do that.
All right, go for it.
So I thought they did a really good job in the beginning.
No, they didn't.
Developing characters.
No,
I
they
was
didn't.
able to understand where the characters were coming from, how they kind of played in to one another, a little bit of their background, and it wasn't to the point where I was like, why is this person in the movie? Why are they here? Where did this come from? So
okay.
I felt they did a pretty good job with that. Even the Zach, they had him as this kind of strange, mysterious guy who's just hanging around in the beginning, and then they even went to develop his character some. So I think they did a pretty good job, and that probably took up a third of the movie. So they maybe could have made it a better movie by your standards if they spent less time developing their backstory faster. But I enjoyed the backstory. I enjoyed that more than the end.
Well, I think that I might agree with you on that one, actually. And I liked all of the Rangers, with the exception of Jason, the leader. I couldn't get behind him being the strong leader type. They can tell me all they want that he's the head quarterback and he's this guy. But, if he cared about his team, I don't think he would have been doing all the things that he did. Or rather, because we start out the movie showing him what seems to be pulling a prank on another team or something like that.
I think it was a senior prank on his own school, which he was doing with his teammates. I think it was two guys, and
okay.
I don't think that is a super negative thing. You see star quarterbacks or whomever pulling pranks like that all the time. So it's not that he's a bad kid or whatnot. It's just that on the chase running away, he hurts his knee, and that's what threw away his career.
Okay, but they have scenes where they're going through memory things or whatever of, football, right? Am I right when I'm saying that?
Yeah.
Don't we get a shot? So we could have just seen him actually being a leader, on the field in order to establish that part, and then it could have showed him after a victory going and doing something. I'm saying there were other ways I think they could have pitched it.
But how can you start up a movie better than a joke about jerking off a cow?
Also, I didn't need that. I've seen City Slickers too. The whole it's a male cow.
You milked it?
What? Yeah, I think they were trying to establish tone right away, and that was just sort of off-putting to me. But I will say I didn't mind at all that the characters developed over the course, so you learn their backstory over the course of it. I mean, there's a little bit of that ham-fisted, we're going to sit around campfire and tell secrets about ourselves.
See, and that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, is when they finally clicked together and realized that.
It's a great device. But I was saying I like that you don't necessarily get them right off the bat, but that idea of you have Trini and she's she does yoga in the mountains while listening to death metal. And you're like, all right, that's kind of her thing, you know. I did like that they totally all wore their primary colors all the time, just like in the show.
Yep.
I thought that was a nice nod. It was just of everybody else. I loved Billy. I thought Billy was a great character.
I agree.
I thought he was well developed. I liked the idea that they had somebody on there that was on the spectrum.
See, and I didn't think that was necessary to the story. I think there's something deeper to it than just, hey, we're going to make Billy, you know, somebody who's on the spectrum, somebody who has Asperger's syndrome. But there has to be a reason from the director's point of view or something that had to be there. Actually, one of my grievances is with his character. I'm going to go Neil deGrasse Tyson on this. So in the beginning, when he's like, he puts the chicken wire around his leg, oh, this is a Faraday cage.
Right.
A Faraday cage needs to completely encompass something.
Yes, it does.
Sorry.
For our listeners, you were educated as an engineer.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so no, I kind of saw that too. I was like, I don't know that I actually quite get that either. But no, I think it's just that extra level of inclusiveness. I mean, the American version, obviously, of the show is I thought Jason had Native American heritage, and then you had the black character, Asian character, white.
And the black character was the Black Ranger. The Asian character was the Yellow Ranger.
Yeah, so they obviously
the
had
Indian
to mix
character
that up in
was
this
the
one.
red character. I mean, it was pretty 90s of them.
Yeah. So they obviously had to shift some things around in this one. But no, the fact that they include an LGBTQ character, the fact that they have somebody on there that's on the spectrum, I thought that was all fine. It was just for whatever reason, I just didn't jive to white male hero Jason as the leader. For whatever reason, it just didn't.
And I think the beginning of the
click.
movie shook his confidence, and it took till 3/4 of the movie in till he realized he really can be the leader, and he started acting like one, and that's what pulled the team together.
Yeah, I mean, he starts talking about my team, and I guess that's just supposed to be a reference to his football days kind of thing. Maybe it just didn't seem as clear to me, or maybe I feel like I just kind of didn't buy it. I don't know if it was the writing or if it was the actor. And I could have completely done without Alpha being a character in this movie at all. I know that it's necessary because he was in the show, and I'm happy that there was just the one throwback mention to the thing. But I didn't feel. It's tough because when you don't really like a movie in general, or the movie's just kind of,
or you don't like the TV show that it's based off.
Well, I feel about this movie, I guess, slightly less than I feel about maybe like the first Thor movie, where there's some visuals in there, and they clearly spent some money. And there's one or two things that you can, chuckle at. I enjoyed Thor more, but I don't look at Thor as a really great movie. And I swear, and I go back and compare shots, I'm pretty positive that this movie was shot in the same little town in the middle of nowhere that Thor was, and they just CG'd the rest of the town in the background. There's just that one cross street, because there's that one building on the corner that has the low roof that I thought was used as where Natalie Portman worked in Thor.
I don't know. I didn't see it, or it rings no memory for me.
Yeah, I know. It was just a thing I noticed. I was like, this looks like a really familiar little one tiny area that they're fighting in, which I guess is better than the show where they constantly destroy the city.
Yeah. Jumping to one of my grievances, in the beginning, from a film perspective, I did not like the camera that was really jostly and did the 360 turn while they were in the car chase. I thought that was completely unnecessary, and it almost made it seem like I should have been in one of those rides at any theme park you're at where the seats move along with the movie, trying to get you to, get a little car sick in it. It just, you could have easily just shot that from outside. You didn't need to jostle us around.
I agree. I would have much rather have seen the car flip over and stuff like that than having the camera stick on him. I guess good for them for taking a chance and making a decision, making a call and having a take. But to me, it didn't. A lot of that first third of the movie didn't pay off for me the way it was shot. I feel like it got better as it went on. But yeah, very much
like the Breakfast Club tie-in in the beginning.
Yeah, with the detention thing, you mean?
Yeah, how they're all in detention, they're all learning about each other there, and
they're all the weird kids. Well, there's and I mean, there's all the other little throwbacks. There was because they had Jason and Kimberly from the television show at the very end of the movie. I don't know if you noticed that. They were the ones with their Tommy their cell phones taking pictures. Okay, Tommy and Kimberly with their cell phones.
The one with his flute knife.
Yes, his flute knife. Let's not. It's...
See, and though that made me smile. That cameo, I was like, awesome! And towards the end, where they were doing more campy stuff, like, the people in the theater with me were so giddy at the campy things, like, they were kicking their... Well, we were in a theater where your seats recline. They were, like, kicking their feet in the air because they were so overjoyed with it. So I think it definitely struck a chord with a lot of people that were fans of the show that wanted to relive the nostalgia but see some entertaining movie along with it.
And that's fine. That's totally fine by me. So, I mean, we've kind of talked about the Rangers themselves. I guess if we're moving on, both, I guess it's story and character-wise at the same time. So what did you think of, like, Alpha 5 and Zordon? I
like the background for Zordon. Because you never understood where Zordon came from, why he's in the computer, why he's the floating face. I did like the backstory. I think that started the movie kind of really neat. And how he kind of sacrificed himself to supposedly kill Rita, but he didn't. And how it kind of played into why these power crystals were locked away for the new Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to find. I think his power struggle of, I need to get out so I can kill Rita, was a bit unneeded. It could have focused the story more on just the Rangers, but I did like how he sacrificed himself coming back to save Zack.
Yeah, that whole thing didn't make a whole lot of sense. Because his whole thing was like, I'm going to move from the computer into a new body, instead of being like, I traveled to heaven and I brought Zack back. Don't ask questions. Like, can we at least address the idea that he's like, I'm going to turn this stump over when he's dying, the Zordon is living. I'm going to literally turn the stump over, put the coins in and put it down, and then the coins will choose somebody at the right time. Which is kind of like, or they'll sit for millions and millions of years until a freak accident and people just happen to be there. It's that idea of...
They chose the right people at the right time.
I don't like that. I don't like the idea. So we were talking before, the first time we tried recording this, and I had mentioned that I liked the idea better if, like, Jason was already a Power Ranger. Like, he was the first one. He was chosen. You know, something happened where he was picked out because he was in this town and he was clearly seen as a leader and young and strong and that sort of thing. And then he was tasked with finding the others and looking for different traits, so he had to sort of open up his opinions and not just pick people from his football team or whatever.
And by the way, I think that's what happened in the TV show.
Was it?
I think so. I think he was chosen first, and then he had to help find the rest of the people. I could be remembering it all wrong, because I have not gone back to rewatch this. This is pulling memories from 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
But it's that idea of being chosen versus the random chance, but just kidding, fate pushed you here, and then you don't have control over your actions anymore if fate is determining this. So I suppose fate is probably the thing that stepped in, where, like, the parents are like, you've been gone for 12 hours and you're soaking wet. Oh, well. Or like Billy's mom being like, my van was destroyed and found at the gold mine. I have no problem with this. Let's never discuss it in the film ever.
Or the town gets destroyed every week in the TV show and is magically rebuilt, and nobody questions or blames the Power Rangers.
Exactly.
You just gotta accept that in this universe that they exist in, some stuff doesn't make sense.
Zordon just gasses the town on a weekly basis, and they all forget.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they just lose time. I liked the underwater thing. I liked all of that. I thought Zordon was fine. I liked the idea of him being just using them and wanting to use their power. I thought that was kind of an interesting wrinkle, but it clearly, like, you knew that wasn't a thing that was going to last. I just didn't like that it was resolved by Billy coming back. Also, so the dude's underwater for like 30 seconds. If we want to assume that he didn't know what was going on or he was scared, so he gulped down a bunch of water and drowned, nobody else there knew or even thought to attempt CPR. They stare at him for like 10 seconds. They're like, oh, he's dead. I know what to do. We're going to carry his body, drag him through more water in order to dump him at the foot of the annoying robot in the face wall.
That would be a plot hole, yeah.
Because they can fix it. That bothered me a little bit.
Well, and what bothered me more than that is they spent so much time training and got nowhere. And
did they though?
Oh,
did they though? I mean, the idea that they get 11 days, like
No. So much time of the movie.
Okay.
They spent a lot of time training. Oh, you need to get better. Oh, you're nothing. And then Rita comes and visits one in the middle of the night and pulls them in. Like, you would think if they're taking it seriously and they have all these powers that they could... Well, okay, here's where my real problem comes in. They spend all this time getting nowhere. Then all of a sudden when Rita is there, they all of a sudden discover master martial arts and can all of a sudden power their Zords without any training. And the only one who took one out was Zach?
Yeah.
And
he didn't know what he was doing.
Stuff, and yet the next time he's in it, he's like, "Oh, I know how to drive this thing."
Yeah. They're like, I guess the idea is like you get full access to your powers with the suits. Also, they don't actually ever explain the Morphin, you know what I'm talking about though, right?
Yeah, the swirling stuff in the middle of the room.
Yeah, what do they call it? Is the Morphin power source thing.
I don't know.
There's no explanation of that or what that means or what that does outside of the idea that I guess it's the source of their strength or why like you put the coins down and they'll melt stuff and make weird reactions to things around you. I guess that just means they have to have it on them at all times.
And it follows them. It follows them. It's part of them now.
Yeah.
And if it is not part of them, it will be detrimental for anybody else to try and touch it. Hence the heat and everything. That's what my takeaway is. But also, going to the campy side, they did a lot of like really cool things. I did not like that they didn't do the "It's Morphin Time" and put the crystal in front of them. Like he said, I guess it's Morphin Time, so we're going to stand in our 5 spots and slowly do it. But it wasn't like I was hoping for that campy morphine power shot.
With the morpher belt buckle thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, he says it's Morphin Time the first time that they all suit up, so I guess that's in there. And they do play the theme. It is not... You had mentioned this before I went and saw it, that you were saying that it's exactly the theme from the show and that people were complaining it was different. It is a different iteration of the theme. Like, it is more, I don't know, like modern...
Is it?
I thought
it was the exact same.
No, it wasn't. And I'm cool with that. I did like, in the first time when they jump up out of the water to start fighting the putties, where they do, like, I believe, the quick zoom in or zoom out, the Japanese martial arts style. Yeah, that they all land together and do, like those sort of little touches were fine. It's just, it's like for Liam. Liam doesn't like the Stan Lee cameos in Marvel movies because it completely pulls him out of them. It's like that for me, too. So it's like, if this is just a fun movie, maybe you don't worry about it being so dark and then still trying to make it a fun movie. Like, I feel like you're trying to mix things there.
Yeah, I agree with
you
that.
Can't start with, like, murdering people and, talking about we're just here to kill Rita Repulsa, and they're just immediately okay with that and accept that that's a thing that it's okay to do, even though they don't in the end.
I do like how they backhanded her to the moon.
into space. Now, I didn't stay all the way through the credits just because I wanted to get home and start reading the trade for the podcast. I did catch the mid-credits scene.
I think it was just the mid-credit scene. I don't think there was one.
Okay, saying that Jason is somebody that exists. All right, so let's talk about Rita for a second then. Elizabeth Banks is the actress who plays the character.
Which I did not realize until after. Like, I did not associate her.
Really?
No, like, I didn't see... Like, I couldn't tell her face was her.
Oh, man. It was immediately apparent for me. It was also, I think, interesting to note, now having read the trade, that, obviously I knew that she doesn't look at all like Rita Repulsa, which is probably fine because that's a lot of cones for one person to wear. But she actually looks more like, is it Scorpina? There's the female Scorpion lady character is very much what she looks like.
Yeah, I can see that with all the green and everything.
Yeah, and sort of she had this helmet thing versus her having the little thing sticking out of her face, Rita's thing sticking out of her face. So I thought the character was overacting in that sort of thing, which I know is sort of part of the course for the villain, so it was my monsters and grow, and that stuff I was okay with. I thought the whole gold thing was weird, of the swallowing gold and then just putting it in your staff and then like blowing the place up even though there was a ton more gold in there?
Well, no, she ended up taking all of the gold to make her staff. She just did it via her, I'm just going to melt everything in the store and make it into a staff.
See, I saw her only do the one necklace.
She did not leave any gold. Yeah, she did to the beginning, and then as she was walking out, all the gold was filling out the rest of her staff.
Okay. I guess I just assumed that was still continuing from the one thing. That makes more sense then.
Yeah, so she took all the gold from that place.
Okay. I will say the one thing I liked the idea that the green coin, power coin or whatever, was part of her staff, as though she herself couldn't use it to suit up properly.
I thought her armor was her power suit.
Was it? Because it wasn't like the full Power Ranger suit.
Well, no, she went evil, so it changed.
Oh, because if you can't access the Morphin whatever, I thought you couldn't do it, and to do that you have to care about the other people in your team.
Well, she had been a Power Ranger, so she learned all the secrets. So she could then use her power for evil.
Well, in any case, I like the idea that it was part of her staff.
Yeah, it was neat.
I don't know what to think about Goldar. It felt kind of like, I'm going to punch a thing made out of liquid gold. Oh, that didn't help? Because it's liquid gold? Oh, okay then. But then stabbing it with two swords totally works.
Yeah, of course.
I guess. That's what you needed to do. Also, little disappointed that it didn't cut the thing that then explodes. Like Voltron style.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed in that. The gold thing didn't, especially because if character is literally just made out of liquid gold, I still would have wanted to see it explode just to completely push it over the line into utter ridiculous.
Well, and that would help pay for the city to be rebuilt with gold sprinkled everywhere.
That's right.
Were you hungry for a Krispy Kreme donut when you left?
No, but I was really curious where this movie got most of its advertising revenue from.
Yeah.
I was super curious.
It makes you wonder.
Ugh, too much. But at least it wasn't as bad as, like, Transformers. Though they reference a bunch of stuff. They reference Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Bumblebee when they destroy the car that looks like Bumblebee from the Transformers movies. And I don't know if that was meant to be some kind of shot or not.
I think so.
Okay.
The one last complaint I have is... So they don't know how to control their Zords, and then they magically know how to control them. But then they fall into the pit all at the same time. That's near the power crystal. And then they randomly start to morph together to create the Megazord. And then they all know how to control it magically. Like, just focus a little bit of the training time on the Zords. Like, we're going to spend a day on the Zords. It's just going to be inherently controlled by your mind, and your arms are just going to control the swinging action. Just a one-liner. Boom. Now we know how to control our Zords. That makes sense. And, oh, by the way, you guys may want to know you can combine your Zords together to create the Megazord, which may be useful.
Yeah, I had some Zord issues as well. Certainly the ones you're talking about, the idea that Kimberly comes in with the ship and like sees Rita and just opens fire on her, which fine. But like there's so many other people still right in the street next to her. And Kimberly's like, I don't know how to use this thing, but I'm going to open fire in this crowd of people, assuming I'm going to try and hit the one person I'm trying to hit. The fact that they're able to just fall down a hole, which, just to backstep a little, Goldar is there, a creature made completely out of gold for some reason, even though there are many other elements in the Earth's crust that probably would do a better job. And its job is to find and destroy the Zeo gem or whatever by punching through the surface?
No, he dug.
He punched.
Did he?
He wasn't like on his hands and knees like digging, and even if like the shape of a person is probably not the best way to do that anyway, right? Like she could totally clandestinely get all that gold and hire a crew to dig, buy the building, take it slow.
But that wouldn't have been as fun.
No, I know, but it's just so it punches down. It looks like it's not that far down there, but the Zords fall for a very long time. It was that idea of you just automatically know how to control it. You could give me at least a throwaway line. I know I flip-flop on this all the time of not wanting a ton of exposition and things explained to me. So if we're just supposed to assume the cord that attaches to like the back of their suit and pulls them into the chair gives them the knowledge that they need to do whatever they're doing, just like the suits gave them the knowledge to fight the way they fought.
But then why spend so much time training?
Yeah, and at least you can give me that throwaway line of like, these suits were worn by other people. You get the knowledge of everyone that's ever worn this suit kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
and then you get a little more of that legacy feel in there as well. But yeah, the idea that Kimberly's Zord, the Pteranodon or whatever, was like getting literally destroyed, like crunched into a ball, but then it was fine. They flew out. And I suppose my last thing about, no, I have two more things. I take that back. My first thing is that everything was very much kind of like Transformers, and that it's just so much metal and gray things smashing against one another. It's hard to tell what's going on.
Yeah.
And I was not sitting close to the screen. Like, this was a theater where you could sit close to the back and easily see the entire screen. And my second thing is I didn't like the placement of them within the Megazord. Like,
how they were separated instead of all in the same room now?
I understand why they did it, but I really wanted the idea of them doing it. In the comic book, they talk about how they basically teleport. You know, they teleport into their Zords, and they teleport into the same, center control room.
Because they can teleport to Zordon in the TV show.
Exactly. So I liked the idea of them all being in the same area. I mean, it was neat that they all had to take a second to figure out. I like that the first thing they did was fall over because you don't know what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, I found the whole big battle kind of underwhelming because it's just punching the gold thing, and it was fine, and they won, and then they thrusted their hips at the populace of the city, which, I mean, let's face it, if you and I were in a giant robot and had just defeated a giant gold person, we would probably do the same thing.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and then we get the teaser. I mean, I suppose it was fine. If they do a sequel and I'm forced to watch it, I hope I get more character development.
Yeah.
I thought what we got was fine. Like I said, I kind of liked everybody but Jason as far as the Rangers are concerned. Again, I could have used a throwaway line of them being like, it translates to Power Rangers is the closest thing we have, instead of being like, oh yeah, you're the Power Rangers, and everybody being like, that's a stupid name. Be like, I'm just going to call myself Iron Man. Is that cool?
I am Batman.
Why do we have mouths on the helmets if they don't open?
I liked that their visors just randomly disappeared whenever they wanted them to, because they could control their power suits like that.
You got to show the actor's face too. That's the moneymaker.
Yeah.
Final thoughts then on Power Rangers the movie?
Go see it.
Or whatever this one was called?
Don't listen to Rob. Go see it. If you liked Power Rangers as a kid, you will love this movie. If you have no soul in your Rob, you will not like it.
I will say, yeah, if you were a fan of the show in the 90s, yeah, go for it, because I want to hear your thoughts on this and see if you agree with me. It wasn't an awful movie. It wasn't, in my opinion, a good movie at all. There were certainly some good stuff in there. It just wasn't enough for me to come out a fan of Power Rangers. Like, I can watch Pacific Rim and be like, you know what sounds cool? Being in a giant robot and in like a battle suit, like very much. So I watched it with the wife, and she kind of ruined it for me, because I was like, I'm really not looking forward to seeing Power Rangers, but I'm going to go because, suggestions and it's for the podcast, so I'm happy to do it. And I was like, but it's just, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, let's watch Pacific Rim. And she's like, oh, I don't know, what's that? And I'm like, well, it's guys in they wear like these suits, and they're inside of a robot, and they sort of share control of it, and they beat up giant monsters. And she just kind of looked at me. She's like, how is that any different whatsoever from Power Rangers? And it was like, oh. And it was like, well, the whole robot and the kaiju thing it's like, it's a subgenre in and of itself, or a genre in and of itself of stories and movies and TV shows. But yeah, she wasn't wrong. But I will say, I didn't come out of this wanting to see more Power Rangers. This doesn't make me want to go back and watch the show. It doesn't make me want to see another Power Rangers movie. I thought it was fine. I'm sure there's people that are going to be fans of it. I just think they could have made it brighter and a happier of a movie. I felt like they tried to do almost a Batman v Superman thing and make it darker than it needed to be in order to try and make it feel more grown up. But you can't make it try and feel more grown up and start off with a joke about milking, finger quotes, a male cow right after a scene where the dude like dies
by sending a comet to kill himself.
Yeah, like a lot of mixed stuff in there. I feel if they had brightened it up, they can keep the teen drama in there. That's fine. But give me like the CW version of Power Rangers, with better graphics and more money behind it. And I feel like that would have been great.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, Rob.
You are absolutely welcome. Thank you for joining us. I hope you will join us on the subreddit along with everybody else who's listening to talk more about Power Rangers. Again, that is reddit.com/r/geek-to-geekcast. Some guy named Matt, is there anywhere you would want people to find you on social media? I know there's a reason we call you some guy named Matt.
No, I'll probably make a new Reddit profile for some guy named Matt and post.
Cool. So you can look for him for that. For us, if you want to send us suggestions of new things to read or to watch, so long as they're comic book related, you can find us on Twitter at ComicBoxCast. You can send us an email at thecomicboxpodcast@gmail.com. And is that it?
That's it.
So thanks, guys. Let's all poll our... we need a poll list for next week. So I've been thinking about this very briefly, as in just now. And for next week, I think we're going to talk about Image Comics. We've talked a little bit about just indie comics in general and that sort of thing. But let's go with Image. I'm going to try and poll maybe a new one. There's a series called Trees that I might read that I know is on the Hoopla app. Otherwise, I might try and find just another new Image book, and we'll talk about the history of the company and some of our favorite Image titles for next week. So pick your favorite one and read, or you can read Trees along with me. I don't know. I feel like that's an adult title. I think it's a horror comic. I am not sure. And heck, maybe I'll also read Volume 2 of Descender, because I think that's on there as well, and that was pretty good. So thank you for joining us for this issue. We're going to close the comic box for now and pick up our knife flutes. And why don't you go ahead and play us out there, Matt, on your knife flute?
Ba 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 da ba bam ba bla doo 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 ba da bow.
Da 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 do down world, the comic box. Do you remember the song, the flute dagger song?
No,
it was
not
a tune
off
he
the
played.
top of my head.
There you go. You're not a true fan then.
True.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.